Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. We're waiting for some more colleagues of yours to join, so maybe we can just hang on there for about just a couple of minutes and then we'll start. Good afternoon again, everybody. Welcome to this webinar of ours today. We've got Kavitha, Srinivasulu, and Gaudaman Jyotilingam with us today, and we will talk about the return to workplace post-COVID-19. And the presentation that Kavitha has will be 30 to 40 minutes. Request you to please put down any questions that you have, and we will pose it to her after the presentation is over, and then we will have an interactive session for about 20 odd minutes. Over to you, Gautam and Kavitha.
Hey, thank you, Meera. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining for this meeting. Good evening. I would like to give a short note about the current situation, what is kind of happening, because especially the security folks and privacy folks are in need of what is going to happen to us when we return to office and what are the measures that we have to be taking it, because that is something that's very, very important to be focused on. And today, as Meera told, that we have got Kavitha Srinivasulu with us. She currently works in AstraZeneca as Associate Director. And I would like to give a short note about Kavitha as well. She has got 17 years of comprehensive experience in security, business continuity, data privacy, and risk management. And she has also got and she has worked in various other domains like BFSI, financial services, healthcare, telecom, BPO, and KPO services as well. And notably to say about her, what I could say is she's a certified GDPR EU practitioner, and ISO has released a new version, ISO 27701 for privacy. She is even expert, and she's been certified on that as well. Just want to note on that. And apart from that, she has got accolades and attainments in wherever she has worked, HCL, in Wipro, in AstraZeneca. More than that, I would like to quickly conclude that more than a work environment, she has contributed a lot more to the social responsibility group, that is in the CSR field. She has got the Best Working Woman Achiever Award, Public School Social Responsibility Award, and she has contributed more to kids in the school and for social security, cyber security, data security, to social forums as well. And with that short note, I would like to hand it over to Kavitha. Kavitha, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gautam. So I'm just presenting my screen, and let me know once you're able to see that. All right. So thank you everyone for taking time off during a weekend to join this call. And the main reason why we are gathered here today is to, as all of us know, the current situation globally, not one or two countries or not one or two cities who's affected with this COVID situation. Globally, we are all working remotely and connected in an open environment, which is more vulnerable and more challenging, these days. So, we have just gathered here today just to understand, how COVID is affecting not only, the physical or the human health, but also how cyber criminals are taking this as an opportunity to harvest our information, and especially as individual users are, working in an open environment, how they are trying to attack us and how is it significantly growing in these times. So that's the objective of this session. And if you could, just for us to take a step back and see, what where does this COVID come from, and how are we, from when are we undergoing this situation. COVID has started off significantly, or the base is from Wuhan in China, and we all know that. And when we were hearing that, it globally was not so alarmed as it is currently, right? So it came to to a peak in China around December, January times, and in India especially, it started growing significantly by March. So from March mid, I believe all of us have started working from home, connecting remotely, and trying to face the challenges that on a day-to-day basis, and how do we recover ourselves from there. But at the meantime, there were most of the COVID is not only affecting the human physical health environment, but it is also seem to be affecting their mental illness is becoming the most common symptoms. And the studies have proved that a lot of associates have underwent depression, and there is some pandemic forced organizations who are working closely with the associates to ensure they are physically and mentally managed and have a frequent connect with the associates to ensure they are safe. So at the same time, what we have to look into in this particular session is there is a significant spike in a lot of cyber attacks during this COVID situation. First and foremost, which is very significant, is phishing. Phishing scams are very rising day by day, and social engineering and ransomware attacks and phishing calls. So these are some of the cyber attacks which is prevailing in our environment, and a lot of attacks have increased rapidly during this situation. So our cybersecurity teams are, actively involved, and we are trying to, try to handle a lot of incidents on a day-to-day basis. So now, as it's happening parallelly, the, the the COVID situation seems to be going little, decreasing day by day, and we are now in a position returning to office. So when we have to return to office, it is just not, after annual leaves we go back to school, right? It's not like that. It is a situation where we will have to take proper measures and ensure our organization has the necessary steps taken before we request our associates to start working from our premises. So this session will discuss about what is the current situation, what are the types of attacks, and how do we avoid foreseeing or facing such attacks, and some templates and checklists which we can use when we are returning to normalcy. Okay. So here, if we see, as per Zscaler, analytics, there is a significant rise. As we said, 85% is more affected with phishing attacks, and phishing attacks is, usually not restricted to phishing emails. It is also, connected with a lot of, messages and the links that we get either through messages or through emails or through calls. Okay, so we'll see in detail about it in our forthcoming slides, but 85% is a huge increase in this type of attack, which is increasing at this point of time, and 25% is on the malicious websites and malware files blocked, and how they attack us and how to handle, we will see, but that's 25%. And 17% of the threats are with the internal attacks, or our internal users who are usually mentally disturbed, who are in a position to for compromising or for managing their internal rivals, are exploiting and exposing the data. And how is it happening? We will definitely see that. Okay, but overall, seeing the picture, there is these are the three levels of attacks which is significantly increasing, and these are the percentages that we have come up with as per the COVID threat scenario. Okay, so, and we also did a small analysis on a survey on, we are talking only about the cyber attacks right now. We have to see what are the major areas that is affected, and how is the organization in a very confident situation to accept the same and to face it, right? So 92% of the threats are involved in cyber attacks, and it's not one or two. The cyber criminals haven't given exception for any organization or any type of domains that we are working in. But if you see which platform is highly threat, we have threat on is healthcare. Healthcare being the first focus, or primary focus for the cyber criminals is on the healthcare domain. And another domain which is prone for threat is financial services. So these two platforms are highly risk prone, and 92% of the threats is on the individuals who are working in an open environment, and 87% is of work is affected due to privacy, the privacy of data that we are working on. So there are a lot of information on a day-to-day basis we work, but there are transactions, right, which is happening using remote connectivity, and the kind of personal data that is being collected during the situation to manage. It might be with respect to the app that our India has released, Arogya Setu app. We will discuss in detail about it, but it's either the app that the organization has come up with, or our organizations collecting some information to keep it ready, or for using for any pandemic situation. So the data is circulating in an environment, and there is a hugely prone risk, where even the internal threats are also very high, in a way that the data, the PHI, the personal health information, or the personal contact information is being sold in the market, and the rise has become very high during the situation. And 58% of the threats are to disrupt the organizations from any kind of so recently also you would have seen a lot of ransomware attacks at an organization level. They've started targeting to ensure the organizations are affected, and there are a lot of ransomware happening at the back end, and it takes time for the organizations to recover and continue with their day-to-day activities. And only 51% of when we are looking at a holistic view, and the kind of attacks are huge in the market with respect to information security and data privacy, the organizations with the current level of security controls and the bandwidth and the teams who are designated to work on that is only 51% as per the survey to detect and respond to any kind of incidents. Okay. So now, what are the 6 core risks which we have to keep in mind, and as an organization during this challenging times? Okay, so first is the CEO fraud, exploiting social distancing. So knowing the current situation, the social distancing is mandated, but are we really following that, and how is our organization going to set up about culture or the atmosphere we work out of? So if we are going to return to office, how are we going to ensure the social distancing is is managed in such a way that we'll be able to accommodate all social challenges? Also other precautionary measures as well we have taken, but the social distancing is a major risk which the organizations have to keep in mind and take precautionary measures to stick to that. And second is the insecure remote connections to office, right? So when we are working from home, there is a tendency, not only, see, working from home wouldn't be a challenge, if the necessary precautions and necessary guidelines that is provided by the organization is followed by our associates. To just take an example, whenever we are working from home, which is not unusual, our teams fail to restart our systems. As we are working from home, they always keep it in a standby mode, and they just lock their system and end the day, and the next day morning they just unlock the system and start continuing their day-to-day deliverables, but unaware of what is the threat and what is the impact that would come up to their systems for the back. So for example, when we are on a system, and there is always our organization mandates, you will have to lock your system when you're not around, when you're stepping away for anything. Our associates have a mindset or a tendency to feel when we are working at home, so what's the big deal? There is nobody else around me, nobody is going to look into what I'm working for, and they'll just leave it unlocked also and just and continue with their day-to-day deliverable. We are seeing a lot of things in media where they cook parallelly and they keep their systems unlocked and just leave it as it is, but they fail to understand how we back in the cyber understand and try to provide guidelines and which is very important for our associate to adhere to, and they have to be aware about that. And next is increased personal use of company devices. So whenever we are working from home, we are seeing our resources are accessing unsafe and unprotected websites, because when they are working on the company devices, down the time whenever they feel free or they have time to browse, they use our company devices to access unwanted and unsafe websites unknowingly, because they're not aware. It is also the cyber criminals at the back end are creating a lot of attractive links, which is irrelevant to the subject or irrelevant to what we are expecting to view in the websites. It's all posted everywhere. Unaware of this, our associates are trying to click on any links possible to hoping that they're going to see something which they want to see, but unaware at the back end how this it's going to end up in an unsafe and unprotected environment, and it's going to be a more vulnerable. Right, so our company should be, having this into consideration and see how the external websites or the external access is restricted and how it's going to be managed. Okay, and another, kind of, it's a very 10,000 feet height considerations. Employees under financial stress or job uncertainty may pose a risk of as an insider threat. So what happens is whenever our employees, not all of them, but most of them, when they have their internal rivals, or they are not satisfied with the work that they are currently doing, or they are physically stressed and mentally depressed, they tend to, it has been proven that they try to do some internal exploitation of the data, in either uploading it in the websites, or deleting or crashing the data. It's been very normal, and it is seen in the market, and it has been proved. So we'll have to always ensure, the organization always have to ensure, the stress of uncertainty and the stress that is could raise among our employees is definitely considered, and we'll have to ensure to keep them informed and to give them that certainty that the organization is is supporting them in all the ways required. Okay, and the confidentiality at home, okay, is also getting lost, because nowadays whenever we get into the calls, there's family who's around us, and the kids are around us, and it's more like we are occupying their space. So in the media nowadays, even after returning to normalcy, the work from home or the remote connectivity is going to extend. But when it's extending, our organization should also have this thought in mind, that it is not working from home or the remote. We might have other challenges, but the base challenge is we are occupying a space which is no longer ours. Okay, because the kind of personal space and the households and the confidentiality, everything is mixed, and there is a risk which has to be foreseen from a different angle. Okay, and another important fact that a core area that has to be considered by the organization is the phishing attacks, especially which raised significantly post February. I would say post February, it has significantly increased in India specifically, because it is not one or two. There are different kinds of scams that we get, phishing threats, which we'll be seeing in the further slides. But there are a lot of phishing attempts that the cyber criminals are trying. But how to safeguard, how to create some guidelines, or how to educate or build the awareness among our associates to face those threats and to handle them and to report that accordingly. How well are they aware? This awareness is a key requirement at this point of time, where our organization should take a stand and to ensure our employees are in a position to handle the situation. If any attack that happens, how to handle it, how to react to it, and how to report it. This is very important, where our organization should keep the employees posted or informed. Okay, so let's see now what are the different kinds of attacks and how are they affecting us. It is not, when we are talking about the cyber attacks, it doesn't stick to only IT security. It also comes in hand with the data privacy, because the privacy of their there are different kinds of data. There are personal information, their sensitive information, and their health related information. And there is sensitive, when we talk about other side of the data privacy, is the sensitive information of our network. It might be the IP addresses or the network IDs or some confidential information of our company, how they are protected. Okay, so these are also combined together. We'll have to see what are the different kinds of attacks that we are facing today, and how are they attacking us. So first and foremost is the ransomware, which we have should be aware of the recent event that happened, right? So I don't want to name the name of the company, but you know how hugely that was affected, and the ransom, the amount that they had to pay during that attack was huge, right? So when because this is not only that has come out, but not only that one company, but there are a lot of other companies who are infected with this kind of either due to some attachment which comes with an email, or some back-end infection, like whenever, as I was saying, whenever we are accessing any links or opening any attachment, the victims at the back end, or the cyber hackers at the back end, are waiting to attack our system using that opportunity. opportunity, and how do we avoid, or how do we ensure our resources are aware about not doing that? We will see in the forthcoming slides. So ransomware is basically comes through attachments and malicious links. Okay, so phishing scams is now lot of, if you see on a random basis, Alex company analytics to be shared with you, only using this COVID related emails per day, you get more than 600K emails per day across the network, just to know about COVID situation. And the COVID emails are coming day by day. It might be related to some contribution trust box, or to know about the vaccine that is getting released in COVID-19, or to understand more about COVID healthcare and senior management, or there are a lot of seminars that is happening at the back end with free registrations, the links provided for the associates to attend, and some checklists or templates available in this link, so you can utilize it for the betterment of your company. So a lot of scams like this happen, and how we'll have to identify and report that, we'll see. And so the next kind of attack that is significant is on the data breaches. Okay, especially they usually the cyber criminals target on the healthcare domain companies first, because they work more with the sensitive information of the customers. It might especially the health related information, the medical condition of the patients, and the critical reports are very important to to sell that in the market, because that has become more in demand and more required, and especially when lot of companies are competing together to find a vaccine for COVID, right? And during this situation, the cyber criminals are using that opportunity, not only to hack the systems by phishing emails or ransomware, but also by thefting the patient's information or the customer's financial records and selling in the market. And in the media lately, we've seen a lot of fraud scams where every personal data that is getting shared, the rate also varies from country to country, and from the level of information that is shared in the market. So it is becoming a huge threat for the companies to when it comes to the patients or the customer related information. And next is the DDoS attacks, which is overwhelming the overwhelming when we are working in a network. So suddenly, the file that we're working on is missing, or we are not able to open that, or there are a lot of crimes or some social, political, or any ideological issues that is happening, in a situation where there are a lot of type of attacks happening in the network, to a point where the operations have to halt, and it becomes where the cyber criminals try to get into the network in a mid square. Okay, so there another kind of attack that we were discussing about is the insider threat. Insider threat, as we discussed, it is the mental disability and the jobs uncertainty among the employees, which is causing the inconsistency of the level of authorization, on the level of confidentiality the resources can maintain. Employees, to just handle or tackle with their internal rivals, they're trying to hijack the data in their own system and exposing the company information into the media. It is not that they are aware how high it is going to affect, but just for them to show that, just to build the visibility in the external channel, they try to expose or upload the information without any knowledge, or without understanding the impact of that uploading the data. But for this, how do we have to handle it, and how do we ensure insider threat is safeguarded, or how do we ensure that is tackled? We will see in the forthcoming slide. Okay. Now here, we've seen about different kinds of attacks and how are they trying to attack us. Now here, there is a saying always, right? Prevention is always better than cure. So instead of us, after we face an attack, we to sit back and think, what do we do now, which is already impacted, what level of data have we lost, and how do we recover that? Instead of thinking about that, let's take a step back, sit down and see what all we can do to ensure our data is protected and we are safeguarding our business. First and foremost is, as a team, as an individual, we'll have to take a stall and say that not whenever we are working on our official devices like laptop or mobile devices or in a cloud network or applications or tools, if anything goes wrong there, we always have a mindset that we categorize them. If something goes wrong here, it's a networking team, here it is the IT services team, and we GTS team, etc. We just categorize and we put the ownership on the others. But we have to stop that. And as an individual, each and every user in an organization owns the data, and working together always we create a protected environment. And for that, it's not as a cybersecurity professional or an expertise, you would be aware about it. But instead of technically being sound, one base of every cybersecurity professional is to expand the awareness across their network, to make each and every individual working across the network on what is their ownership and how their ownership is very important to their organization. So once they are aware about it, they should also, we also should be aware and be on alert what is happening around us, and be vigilant and be reluctant whenever we are responding to any kind of emails or any kind of information or providing any information on the calls. Okay, so first is, if you see here, get authorized, right? So when we say get authorized, we all work in different kinds of tools and applications with some authorized or restricted level of access, right? So it might be for ourselves or for our team members or for our collaborators or third parties. We do have stipulated access controls in place, and we sometimes, or when we miss to have a tab and to do a regular reconciliation of the access levels and access controls in place, that's when the unauthorized access circulates within our environment, which is prone and which ends up in a major threat. So to avoid the same, we'll have to ensure the reconciliation of the data, the level of access provided to our third parties or to our internal stakeholders. We have to do a reconciliation on a regular basis to ensure our data is protected. And second, as we discussed at the beginning of the call itself, do not be, our employees always feel, leaving the computer unlocked is not going to be a major threat because nobody is at home, it's only me. So I'm going to just step out to have my lunch and nobody's going to disturb my computer, nobody's going to see what we are working on. But they fail to understand there is somebody sitting at the back end who is waiting to get access to our systems. So we'll have to educate them, stating that we'll have to, when we lock our system, it is password protected, and it takes time for the hackers to crack our passwords. So, if you leave our computers unlocked, that means you're giving an open book for the cyber criminals to attack our system and start hacking the information. So please, we'll have to ensure that we educate our associates not to leave their computers unlocked when unattended, not only in the office, but wherever they are working from. Okay, and another key information that they have to be aware, and we all have to be also letting them know, is managing social media profiles. Nowadays social media has influenced a lot, and we know we make or we connect with a lot of people in a lot of platforms, and in different fields we keep interacting with them. Failing to understand, social engineering plays a major role in our day-to-day life, right? So whenever a cyber hacker or a criminal is approaching us, they don't do it on a random or they don't get in touch with us on a random basis and hack our systems. They're very intelligent, and we all know that they are very intelligent in gathering the information. They do a background check, monitor us for a period of time to understand what are we working on, what level of access do we have, what level of information we can provide them. So once they know that, only then they try to create the relationship with us, Once they create the relationship, that's when they start harvesting the information. So we'll have to always ensure, whatever profiles that we are updating ourselves or upgrading ourselves in the media, we should also be aware that if somebody is going to, interact with us or get in touch with us and discussing with us anything related to the company related information, we have to keep set boundaries for that. Okay. And another, another approach or another step that we'll have to keep in mind is back up your data regularly and securely, right? So on a day-to-day basis, the backing up of the data is very important, and we'll also have to inform or update our individuals or our teams not to save any data in their local desktop. They're all working from home. We will have to let them know, and we ourselves have to ensure that we don't save any data in our local desktop or the local laptop that we are operating out of, and it should always be either stored in your company provided tools or company network where it is more secured and more protected, and it has to be made a practice so that your data is always backed up and there wouldn't come a position where your system is corrupted, your system is crashed, or you're losing your data, right? So please, we will have to keep in mind that not only us, we also educate others that we should not save any kind of information in our local desktops. So, and another, other key elements to keep in our mind is, some of our associates are not aware, how they can work in a protected environment when they are connected from home. So they just, if there is Airtel or Vodafone or any kind of connectivity, they just connect and start working on it, in not understanding how secure they can work or what are the key suggestions, key steps or key tips to upgrade their network or to strengthen the quality of their network. We have to take it as an action item and share with them some tips and suggestions to improve the quality of their network, which not only strengthens their home network, but also strengthens the protection of the data that they are working on. Okay, and also we should also educate them, especially our teams work not only internally with the customers, they also work with third parties, right? Third parties, it might be related to the applications that they are working on or some tools they are connected with, or it might be related to the project related activities, right? We work with our third parties. So when we are working with our third parties, those individuals play a very major, a key role in the organization, becomes a bridge line between the organization and the third party. But but the cyber criminals nowadays, taking that as an opportunity, they approach us, as an existing, as an existing vendor, and try to send us email with some attachments or some, links requesting us to circulate, within our network or within the contract employees who are working within our network. So when they are coming up with such emails and without understanding the background, we should not share or we should not circulate any information among the contract employees, because the contract employees will not hesitate or think twice before they open any attachment or click on any links, because it comes from you. So we'll have to let our associates or their employees be aware about it. So when they are interacting with the vendors, they have to make it a practice to ensure they check with the vendor if the email is coming from them and what is the intention of the email. Is it really need to be circulated, or they can just verbally cover it up? Unless and until it is mandatory, you should always educate them in not sharing the vendor related or any external emails within the network. Okay, so there is another important aspect which our employees are missing to understand, which is weakening our system is, whenever we are working on any important tasks or any important data, there would be some pop-up coming up on the right hand side, bottom corner, requesting us to restart our system within 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes, right? So when it happens, when we are working on something, because of the criticality, what we usually do is we just dismiss it, close the window, or postpone it and just forget about it at the end of the day, in failing to understand why are we getting that alert and what is the background about it. We should definitely educate our teams, because as we are in the cybersecurity team and the the updates or the patches or the fixed bugs, everything happening, but it is done by the other department. But by our employees are not aware about it, missing the same, what could be the impact? So we'll have to let them know. So what is the intention of the alerts that you're getting? Because if there is any bug or if there is any attack that is happening in a system, it is not that one system is fixed and it is getting, the ticket that is raised is closed. Right, the designated teams are working across and implementing the same across the network to ensure it doesn't raise in any other system again. So if to do that, we will have to ensure we'll have to restart our system to get that upgrade. It might be related to the operating system or the tools or the application that we are working on. But if we miss to restart our system and the alert comes, then that's where your system is getting outdated or it's not upgraded, and we are prone to more vulnerabilities. This has to be communicated to our employees, because they are not they are SMEs in their own fields, but they are not aware about these things, which is very important for them to know, right? So we'll have to ensure that our employees understand about it. Whenever they get some alerts like that, they shouldn't just restart. Also, they have to save the data that they're working on and restart the system, which will take 1 or 2 minutes maximum, which will help in safeguarding our information, in in avoiding from corrupting that, or in avoiding any kind of attacks from the back end. Okay, so these are some of the key information. And one more what I would like to share with you is, whenever we receive any external emails, sometimes we get so annoyed because the same person would be sending us emails lot of times. So what we tend to do is we look out for the unsubscribe link, right? When we look at the unsubscribe link, we'll tend to go and click on unsubscribe to stop receiving such messages. But failing to understand, even nowadays, even the unsubscribe link is very vulnerable, and the cyber criminals are taking an opportunity. Using the unsubscribe link, they are taking us to unprotected and unsafe environment, using which they are attacking our systems. This has to be informed, and this has to be educated to our employees to ensure we are safeguarding our network, protecting our data, and safeguarding our business. Okay, and one thing that everyone should be aware and made aware also is on the phishing calls. Nowadays, phishing calls is significantly rising. There are two kinds of threats which we are seeing nowadays. Is one is when you receive a call, it takes maximum 30 seconds to 1 minute for us to identify it is a fake call or an original call, right? In this period, we have to think about two things. One is we should not expand the discussion. Sometimes unexpectedly we'll tend to talk with that person either on a debate or as an argument, or some irrelevant subject that we are going to talk to them. They keep us occupied on the call to theft the data on our phones, to phone thefts. That has significantly raised. And second is, when we are receiving the call, we'll have to be very, very cautious, be very polite. We should not be upset. And we should also ensure in the 30 seconds to 1 minute time, we are not providing any information, but at the same time, we are trying to understand, what kind of information they are trying to gather from us. We'll have to raise some logical and some, provoking questions for you to understand what is the kind of data they are trying to gather from you. Anything company related, you just, accumulate, or you just understand what is the data they are looking for, and end the call very formally stating, you would be very happy to provide them this information, and end the call. Okay, that is very important for us to know. And so that once we know about the intention of the call, we can intimate our organization on the same, and the organization can take necessary measures before we end up in any major threats. Okay, so we've seen about cyber security, and what are the types of attacks, and how do we overcome that. Now, on the data privacy side, our India has come up with, our MHO has come up with a lot of guidelines to follow, and some questions to consider, which you see in the slide now. It is self-explanatory, but one thing I would like to, talk about, in the time that is left is, that is app that was released initially, right? Arogya Setu app that all of us are aware about, which is mandated at the beginning. And, based on the feedback and the kind of, threat that it was seeing, now our government has come up with open source, where the source code is available, and they have challenged by stating if there is any vulnerabilities that anybody can identify, you get a prize of 1 lakh, right? So they are very confident on the protection of the information that is getting shared. However, we will have to be sure about two things. One is our government has initially mandated, but now they haven't mandated, the installation of this application or the tool in the employee's device. That definitely it is a recommendation, but it is not a mandatory or a force. We can always recommend our employees to install this to monitor their health condition, but it is not mandatory. And the second is, we should also let our employees know that for a period of time, their information would be recorded for 30 days, I believe. It would be recorded, after which it would get, deleted by its own. So it's not something which would be a major threat for them to be alarmed about, but it is very safe. The government has introduced for looking out for the safety of our the people, and once everything is normal and it's not the records are very clean, 30 days is the monitoring period, and after which it gets deleted on its own. Okay, so we will have to keep that in mind and let our employees know about it. And when we are reopening or returning to office, there are a lot of steps or recommendation given by the government, which you are seeing here in the screen right now. These are the guidelines which is provided by the government. First and foremost is we'll have to ensure from the health standpoint, we will have to first take the temperature of the employees, get their health records, and we'll have to ensure whatever information, any test reports, any health reports that they have, and once we are sure about their health conditions, they should be allowed inside the office. And even whatever data that we are collecting, where, as part of this COVID situation, to enter the premises, we'll have to always ensure this data is completely protected and it is not exposed public. And after a period of time, once things settle down, this has to be deleted or terminated upon the expectations. Okay, so we should not collect the information or unwanted information of the employees unless and until they are ready to reveal some of the sensitive and confidential information. Okay, so we will have to be aware about it. And what more we have to do about this, we should not collect any information unless the individual is volunteering to provide that. And when it is, as we just discussed, if it is when it is not required, we will have to delete the information. And it is also says that it is not we just state that we have monitored the employees' temperature levels, and we have and made them enter the premises. These records that you're managing and the steps that you're taking, the communications especially that you're giving to your employees is completely auditable. Please, we'll have to keep in mind whatever that we are doing goes out on the emails. The email communication is very important, which our organization or which our government itself has mandated. The employees around us should be aware about what are the steps taken and what is the current condition of maybe the current COVID situation, or what is our organization steps that they are taking and how is it benefiting them. The employees should always be informed about the ongoing situation, and we should not keep them outside in a silo or in the isolated area. They should be aware, and we'll have to also be aware on the data that we are collecting from the employees are protected and it is not exposed to external parties. Okay. And another key thing that we have to be aware about is we'll have to ensure when our employees are entering the office, the proper it might be sanitizer or tissues, or it might be the sprinkles that you have to when they are entering the office. All these measures should be taken before we allow the employees entering our office. And the even the AC has its own temperature. It shouldn't be operating. Only the fans should be operating in the organization based on the current situation. And we have to do a risk assessment of the facility. the facility, before it could open for the employees, the risk assessment have to be done from the business continuity and infrastructure standpoint. We will have to do a risk assessment, and once the facility is in a position to occupy the resources, it has to start opening the facility, not before that. Okay. And this is a case study which is very simple, giving a situation and where the global spread of the COVID situation has prompted for the offices to migrate from the office to the travel in between the traveling for the employees and the new data that we are working on, and disclosure of the employees data or the outbreak effects. A lot of things that we have to be ready is the current situation for returning to office. But the issue is on the raising pandemic situation, the raising cybersecurity and data privacy attacks that is happening on a day-to-day basis. So in what globally that they are doing is they are ensuring they are continuing to monitor and continue to manage the incident and continue to respond to the cyber and data privacy related issues. And so when we are in such a situation, what are the key takeaways that we have discussed about a lot of things, but what are the key takeaways that we should be aware about is business should take immediate steps, okay, to mitigate. As we said, it's not mitigating an issue in one system, but across the network they have to ensure the cybersecurity attacks raised should be mitigated across the network and safeguard the systems. And whoever is working remotely, they have to be given the necessary guidelines to follow and adhere to. And if there is any attack that happens, it has to be documented, and it has to, the current, redundancy plan has to be created. And businesses should stay current with data privacy related, activities or data privacy related regulations that are, provided or coming up in our from our local government. We have to be ensured that we are adhering to it, and if there are any challenges, how to tackle with that. If there is any changes that is required in our HR policies or any kind of facilities standards, we will have to customize accordingly to reduce risk. And we will also have to be ensuring that we are keeping a regular touch with our regulatory bodies to meet the new requirements. Okay, so these are very important takeaways based on the current situation, and we'll have to ensure we are adhering to the same. So these are some of the references, guidelines, which is very useful for us to know about the COVID and the raising cyber attacks and how we are, managing globally. And some checklists and templates for reference links are provided here. Please do utilize the same when required. Okay. So that's it from my side. Team, thanks. If there are any queries, we'll open up the forum. If there are no queries, I think, Meera, I'll hand it over to you.
Kavitha, I think let's wait for a couple of minutes. If anybody has any questions, if you can post them here, then Kavitha can answer them for you. Let's hang on for a couple of minutes.
So not only during the session, everyone, it'll be nice to always stay connected. If there are any queries or any practice or good practices that you would like to know about, or any further discussions, please feel free to call me or get in touch with me. Would be happy to interact. Thanks.
I guess we'll close for the day. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. Please, we appreciate your patience, and I know I learned a lot from Kavitha. I hope all of you did as well. If you have anything that you want to add, your suggestions that you you think that is going to be useful for other CISOs when we're getting back over and above what Kavitha said, please post them on our website. We welcome all of you to write in, post your articles, post your questions, start a discussion. And of course, we have our WhatsApp group, which I know is very, very active. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Kavitha. Thank you, Gautam.
Thank you all. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Kavitha, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.